you. I'm just telling everybody to stop texting me. Family that should know not to text me at this time.
Oh, yes, yes,
Oh, I
absolutely.
forgot.
Right? Hi, everyone. Welcome. Oh, I gotta just stop for a second. Relax. It's
Ooh.
been busy and hot. Hot and busy today. That's my that's gonna be my bumper sticker. Hot and busy. That's what I am. So welcome everyone. I am Michelle, 50% of the team here at Mental Wellness for Life. Beside me is the one, the only, the amazing, the impeccable, the I ran out of stuff, Tom.
I was
I
gonna say Jerry Seinfeld, but I'd be lying. But
oh, that's
the
so
the
funny.
the, the eldest in this situation, the one who is the one who has been on Earth longest, the one who
Marcus from the sun.
prepared the way in the womb. Sorry, this is
It's
what you
so
get.
packed in there. My goodness. Hey, so packed in there. Did you
Yeah,
have a good 14 days without me? You must have
yeah,
cried
it
a
was.
lot.
Yeah, like Michelle, we haven't been on for 2 weeks, and we decided to take the weekends off, especially in the summer. We got family stuff and just whatever, right?
Absolutely.
And I don't feel for you. It feels like you get to Sunday and it's habitual, and we're going to talk about new ideas and stuff. But it's like you feel like you're supposed to be doing something, right?
Totally.
But
Absolutely.
but then it's like, okay, I can like because my girls are here and stuff like that. I can do stuff, right?
Yeah. What
So,
did you do?
anyways, I've been like super busy with work. I'm still getting rehab with my back, and my
Okay.
physiotherapist has had me now do squats. Now I don't do them on the ground, so I go onto a chair. So she's working my butt off, um, but
Literally.
but strengthening my legs, and because my core is gone because of the surgeries and that, right?
Sure.
So she's working on different muscles to help support, right?
Yeah,
She's been gold, but she works me hard for the 40 minutes, right?
for
So
sure.
I want to cancel with her, but I'm not allowed yet. And
Okay.
she's this little Fijian woman, but she could be like a tiny sumo female wrestler, and um, and she hasn't like bent me or hurt me like that. But have you ever had needling done?
No,
Have you had acupuncture?
no,
Do you like needles?
no. I get one every Friday. No, thank you. No.
I love needles.
Oh, well, I'll tag you in sometime.
You have tattoos?
No,
Not even the sticky
no.
ones? Your kids don't put the sticky ones on?
Oh, we do henna, but those don't have pickers. That's like paint,
I
right?
bet you I'm not even joking. I was gonna say 10,000. I bet you I've had thousands of needles in my life.
Oh,
Like
I'm sure
dentists
I
for sure,
probably
right?
have too. Yeah,
Yeah. But no,
I don't volunteer.
so I didn't know this. So I've had acupuncture, which is fine, and you don't feel it.
I've heard great things. I would try that
Yeah,
if I needed it for something.
yeah, like if my work covers it, I pay like $10. But
Yeah.
acupuncture is fine. But I didn't know the difference between acupuncture and needling. And what needling does is, and it's the same kind of concept, but they're trying to hit, I think acupuncture is trying to bring blood to that area
Okay.
and to the area they're doing it. I've done cupping too, by the way.
I've heard of that.
I've got a
I've heard
picture
great things.
I've got a picture of like I look like a turtle. But needling is to goes to the muscle, and it's to cause the muscle to, I don't know what she called this fancy word, right? So she's done it in my hip and stuff like that. You don't feel anything. I mean, a little bit later, like one time it's been sore, but I find all these things so interesting.
Mm.
Just like when we talk about like meditation, certain things. So so why we haven't talked in 2 weeks? So I've been needled twice, and then I've been squatting, which sounds like
Right.
I'm living on the street with a cardboard or something. Not that type of squatting.
Right.
Um, but I find all that just interesting, right? Like I think mentally, even though stuff we're doing, I think it could be the sun shining too and fresh air and that. I just feel like I'm in an area, and because we're talking about some good stuff about this new stuff. I feel like mentally and physically, I've got the energy to kind of push forward in some things.
Well,
So
and you don't know if you don't try.
the last 2 weeks coming, you know what it is, Michelle, coming from all the stuff of moving the kids down
Yeah,
and how like all of that probably stress and anxiety.
yeah,
And like you just did, you take a breath, and then all of a
yeah,
sudden it's like, okay, what's next? And I'm like a to-do guy. I want to get stuff done off the list. I do that for
right.
work, right? So there you go. That's how I feel coming
That's
into the
awesome.
day.
So, what are the side effects of acupuncture or needling?
I've had no side effects.
There probably isn't any, except for maybe if you leave it some sort of open wound. And I think that's one of the things I think of because, my friend Steve, he, excuse Kevin, he wants to be part of this as well. My buddy Steve, he had gout or something, so he was at the doctor's, but he's our age demographic,
Yeah,
and where we didn't go to the hospital. Like, it's not in our nature to go to the hospital every
right.
time we have a runny nose, right? I mean, I'm certainly last resort. My father, I think we'd have to drag him kicking and screaming, and so Steve is of that mindset. So we went for a pressing in the moment issue, and his doctor said, "So what pills do you take every day?" And he's like, "I don't take any every day." And he's like, "What? Nobody gets past 50 and doesn't start have a daily, regimen of pills that they take." And I'm seeing that more and more and more where people are realizing, and that's why I went right to the side effects. People are realizing that there's big side effects to just about anything. I mean, even a Tylenol, eat your stomach liner. And I'm not
100%.
saying I don't ever take anything, because if I have a headache, I'm taking a Tylenol or whatever. But I think we're realizing that quite often in the medical society or environment, that they're treating they're not treating the symptom, they're treating the effect of the injury. Like, if you have inflammation, instead of just looking at how can we force the inflammation down, what's causing it, right?
Right.
And I don't want to start an uncomfortable conversation, but years ago when I worked in manufacturing, I had this coworker, and she was of the same mindset to look for alternative things and think outside the box and this and that. And she went into this interesting conversation about Viagra and men like 70, 80, 90 taking it on the regular, where in natural, like if you're really going to honestly follow the natural progression of life, it's natural to struggle in that area. And for women too, right? But it's so interesting that people like that as an option or use that as an option. It can give you a heart attack. I mean, there's some serious side effects to that. Like, you might get 30 minutes of joy or whatever, but the side effects that can affect you for the whole rest of your life. And I thought, isn't it interesting as society that, and now we don't do it in Canada, but in the States, do we do it in Canada? I don't even know now because I don't really have commercials per se, but like they promote that. Who's happy tonight? Who's going to have a better vacation? Everybody's got white hair, right? Like, as human beings, we have a natural progression. It's okay for us to say, you know what, we're older. My lungs have beat 18 million times, they're tired, right? Or whatever, same as I didn't wear glasses 10 years ago. That's a natural progression. Could I try to eat carrots? Yes, I could. Or something to help it, but I'm just okay using the glasses. there's no bad side effect to that. But I thought just the whole conversation really made you think that, it's so interesting. You think of cosmetic surgery. That's another thing I was saying to one of the grandchildren. Do you know you can get makeup tattooed on your face now?
Yep.
It's an interesting thing. Now, I'm not saying there's a side effect to that, but I think as different things are coming available, people are trying different things. And again, you have to look at that risk factor. But more and more, we're seeing these wellness centers pop up that have, acupuncture. They might have Reiki. They might have meditative therapy. Some people get into hypnosis.
Yep.
Not so sure about that, but I know some people that swore that helped them quit smoking.
I paid, yeah. I have a course. I haven't started yet. That's hypnotherapy.
Yeah, it's tied in with meditation.
So before you go on, so if I was hearing you correctly earlier, you were saying Viagra was hard on men?
Right.
Boom, boom. So I wanna like go back
I
to
thought I was the funny one. Anyways, carry on.
my jokes. It takes a couple of weeks for people to get them, and then they write in. And but here, so I'm going to tell you everything like we know. And this actually, I think it was unintentional because we don't really have a big. Here's our plan for the show. One, it's an opening line for the show. We might have
You
another.
didn't have that much. I don't even have that.
I wrote open to. We sometimes have a little more, but whatever, right?
Nice.
But go back to this because I think this is great. So we know. So Michelle and I know. Most people know. We
Yep.
live in a world. Speaking of the Western world, where first of all, it's all about money. Secondly,
yeah.
it's they want to keep people on drugs forever because there's big business in it, right?
Sure.
And that's just the way it is. And so I'll use a friend of mine. There's he was my coach. He was my coach at the gym, and he was 300 pounds, type 2 diabetes, had some issues, worked up in the mining field, and was told he'd be on this type 2 diabetes medication for his life.
Yeah.
This is about 4 years ago. And whatever had happened, so end up at this camp, start going to the gym and trying to eat better.
Yeah.
When he was my trainer, he was 185 pounds off all of his meds, and they told him he had to have those meds for life. So I've been told I have to be on Ozempic and all of my meds for life.
Yeah.
Right. And my doctor is a wonderful person, but she believes what she's been told, what she's read in the books, and what she's been taught. You know what you know, you don't know what you don't know, right? So the challenge is, and the other thing on our side, because if you go to third world, they don't have this choices. They'll find a bark. They'll find, there'll be a remedy.
100%. That's
Yeah,
right.
like if you go to Africa or even the poor parts of India, right?
Yeah.
But the other part is when you went back to implants and all that, we want easy peasy fixes, right?
That's
So
right.
I know somebody. I'm going to tell you two quick stories. So I know somebody. You might know who they are, but it's fine. So I know somebody that coffee triggers the digestive tract, and they got to hit the bathroom like right away.
Oh dear. Mm-hmm.
So the acid, right? So you know what they do? They basically pretty much every day drink Pepto-Bismol to coat. So they take this Pepto-Bismol, which like just so they can have 2 cups of coffee instead of 1 with it, right? So just dumb. Right? And then talking to people about like you talk about Tylenol and all that. So a lot of these drugs are basically blockers. They're pain blockers. Yeah. So basically all they're doing is they're stopping. And so acetaminophen, Tylenol, like all of those types, like all of those, they're different things, but they all do the same thing. They block the pain receptors going to the brain. So I have I have a pinched nerve and a bulging disc in my lower back, right? I've had it for years. Well, I've been on pain medication to block that signal going to my brain, right?
Right.
For years, right? So, but going back to optional, we're talking about new ideas. Um, I've never been scared about trying something different, right? The cupping, when I tried it, it was years ago, but it was at a regular like physiotherapist that does Reiki, does all these off like thing you just said, right? Like does
Yeah.
all these things, right? They're very holistic in that. And so the lady who did it, and she was like, Canadian, like she wasn't coming from Eastern anywhere. And so she explained what it is because I said, like, she had two sets. She goes, that's what she explained it. She goes, basically, you know what cupping is, right? Why
Me,
they do
yeah,
it, right?
I do. Yeah.
Yeah. So she explained it, and I was like, that's interesting, right? There's something you can do with your feet where you can put pads and you see all these toxins coming out of
Oh,
your
I
body,
know. I've seen that too.
right? So all of
Yeah.
a sudden, like we don't want to take the slow approach. We don't want to like detox because that's kind of what it is, right?
100%. That's right.
So, but anyways, that's all I got.
Okay, so I have some things to add. So as you were talking about the Pepto-Bismol, which I don't hate the taste, but I wouldn't want to do it every day. It made me think of people who want their beer so much that it affects them, but they put tomato juice in it. Same thing. Like, dude, pick another drink. Just saying. Another thing is with the cupping, I think the cupping has really, so a lot of these things that we're talking about, and we're going to talk about it more, they really have a bad rep because whatever that new age lingo, like, I don't even understand the term new age. I'm going to be honest, because none of this is new. So I've never understood connecting that together. But the cupping, you see it in the guys running in the Olympics. That's where, like, I know people who have had it done with success, but that's where I started to see it really in like in like common things that we watch, if you will. Now, here's another thing. Did you know, or do you remember, because we've all had our moments with alcohol, did you ever notice that if you take a Tylenol over an Advil or an aspirin when you're hungover, it makes your hangover worse? And a lot of people, and I didn't realize that till I was doing it because I got to be the front runner on learning things the hard way. And I had to go to work. Don't judge me, just saying. This is 30 years ago. And
Yeah.
so we'd all go drinking, and my kids were with, their designated other parent. And we'd all go drinking. And then the next day, I'd have a little bit of just a headache or feeling blah. And then I'd take a couple Tylenol, jump in the shower, because I got to get those bacon and eggs out, which is so disgusting when you're hungover. But then by the time I got to work, I felt like death warmed over. And somebody said, well, don't you know about Tylenol? It is
Yeah.
such a terrible thing to mix with alcohol that was still in my
Right.
system. And I thought, I've never seen that on an ad. I've never seen an ad that says great for headaches, this, that, and the other, but never mix with alcohol. So it just goes to show you that these tried and true things that have been out there that aren't new age, right? You think of those and you think, well, we don't know all the information even on the most basic thing. They're allowed everywhere. Just
Yeah.
about, I think a 12-year-old can take a Tylenol, maybe younger. I'm not sure. I haven't owned a 12-year-old for a long time. But I just found that really interesting as well, because some people, not judging, I get it. We all come from a different background. We all have a different story that led us to August 10th, 2025. But it's interesting what we don't know about the things we rely on. And we're so trusting, right, in those things, just like We're not going to go down that rabbit hole, but we've learned a lot about things over the last 5 years that people had blind trust in. So
Yeah,
it's interesting that we don't question those things that are already in place, even though science is ever changing. Like, if you really want to trust the science, you have to trust that it evolves as well, right?
yeah,
So that's interesting. And just if I can carry on for another minute, when you talk about the toxins, in us doing this for the last year and a half, we've talked about light pollution. We've talked about stuff in food that isn't good for you. I've talked about that I probably have wax lips in my tummy from all the crap I ate when I was a little kid blindly, right? So it really shouldn't be so shocking that we do have all the toxins in our body that need to come out somehow, right? We're learning more about gut health, we're learning more about macronutrients and all sorts of things like that. Like, we are walking miracles, but we
yeah,
need to treat ourselves as such.
yeah. And I think for me, in my experience, like restaurant experience on understanding food and you're
Yeah,
understanding food,
yeah,
I think our digestive tract in the Western world, and again, North America is the worst. Like if we look at the history, Europe a little bit too, England too. I think I told you this. Went to England when we lived there for a year, and we buy half a loaf of bread. We go, this is weird. Why is it on half a loaf of bread? Well, it's because they don't have all of the additives in it. It would go
that's right.
moldy. Like, go,
So
holy
much
crap!
better
Well,
for
that's why I
you.
sell it, right?
That's
So
right.
they would, and they don't have this red dye and all this other crap in it because they don't allow it, right?
That's
So,
right.
but our digestive tract, the floor and the things that we need have been destroyed, and this goes back to our nurture nature. So I'm not a scientist, so I'll own that. I sometimes think I am, but I'm not. But I believe genetically, because we're talking about genetic makeup of our body. I believe just as we can pass on other things in through our genetic makeup, we can have deficiencies that we can pass on in our digestive tract generation to generation. It may not be huge; they could be whatever, right? So all of a sudden, that's the whole thing with allergies, right? In the 50s, you saw Rotten, right? The show Rotten, right?
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
And so they did the whole peanut allergy thing. So they went back in the 40s and the 50s and they said these peanut farmers said there was like literally no allergies issues going on.
Right.
And then all of a sudden you get into the 2000s and all of a sudden people are dying, right? And
Exactly.
all of this stuff. So why is that, right? So there, and like even people who just touch, not even digest, right? So we've done harm. So we know that there's some good stuff people that are taking like probiotics and
Yeah.
these things to help. But and then what's the thing? I'm gonna say the name. What's the thing with a Scooby or a Scoby or whatever it's called? There's a drink that how much women drink that have a Scoby in it. It's can't remember the name of the drink. It's like a healthy drink.
I got Scooby snack in my head now. I have no
No, oh,
idea.
I know. And I call it Scooby, and I get in trouble for it. But there's this healthy drink that mostly women have, kombucha.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
It's a Scooby
Gross.
or a
But
Scooby
yeah.
or whatever.
Yeah.
So,
I know what you're talking
and
about.
but so you have something that's meant to be gut health, gut good, right?
It's
And
supposed to
what
be
do we
so
do?
good.
What do we do with it? We bastardize it. Now we put this and flavor this, and we multi-pack this and do this and shelf stable, because that's what we do. We mess it up, right?
It's the
So
cereal. Totally.
yeah, and so all of a sudden, but so anyways, I think going back to what you said, we want cheap and easy. And here's the problem. I'm gonna digress to the drug thing, right? So
Yeah.
all of a sudden, going to just for a quick second, we'll get off there. You know, the street drugs right now with fentanyl. Fentanyl is the cheapest drug on the street that they can get, and
Yeah.
it's the worst drug ever.
Yeah.
And the people selling the drugs don't care if they die; they'll just find the next person, right?
Yeah.
And And that's kind of in a different way. The pharmaceutical companies don't care in a way. They're not seeing the end user. Like this is think of how many lawsuits have gone on, are still going on in the courts against pharmaceutical companies. Really
Oh,
bad stuff,
right.
right? And
Yeah.
and most of them are settled out of court, right?
Well, they have
But
too much money, right?
yeah, but finding a natural thing. I just saw, we were joking before we came on. Michelle told me a year ago, but it took a year for me to remember subconsciously. But I was watching, I told her we're watching The Circle. If you don't like this stuff, apologize, but it's just background stuff. So there was one girl that was on it today, and I thought, oh, I love this shirt. Not that I would wear it, but she had as a girl, right? But she had an egg and an avocado. And I thought, because it's healthy, right? I thought, oh, that's super cool,
Yeah,
right?
for sure.
So the thing is going into, we're talking about new ideas, right?
Yeah.
So I always go on my personal Facebook page. It's not difficult to cook, and we all have our own things. Michelle and her family cook and have their Sunday meals together and different things. But you can if you want to help your gut, you can change a little bit. It's not saying you can't go have a fast food treat once in a while, but
Sure.
you can start out changing your the way you eat. Acidity. I sell coffee. That's my business, right?
Yeah.
The acidity in coffee is hard on people's guts. A lot of people don't drink coffee,
I
right?
didn't even know that.
Yeah, high acidity in coffee. So now what's happened over the years is somebody who likes coffee, you can do what's called a cold brew, and Starbucks sells it for lots of money, but you could do it at home. So all a cold brew is, Michelle, is you don't use heat to extract the flavor from the coffee. Like think of a tea bag with
Oh,
hot water. You
yep.
put you put this coffee in a filter with so much water in the fridge for 12 or 14 hours, and you're using time to extract the flavor.
Got it.
The
Okay.
acidity is next to none, and you can microwave it.
Oh my
You can have
gosh,
a
that's
hot cup of coffee.
amazing.
So all of a sudden we start. So that's just because I'm a coffee guy, right? So
That's
all of
good
a
to know.
sudden we
Good.
start, because we have people go, well, I can't do that. I love coffee, I can't do that, right? But all of these things and we're only talking about eating, but we're talking about like being open to new ideas. Michelle and I talk about, and Michelle's gently nudged me in, like with meditation, and I have kind of my way that I kind of do how I process
Yeah.
my morning and my days, right? And
Yep.
Michelle will say, hey, Tom, check this out. I know what you do. Check this out, right? And
Yeah.
she's not being pushy. She's I'm her brother. She kind of likes me. I'm older, whatever.
You're
She's
okay.
not she's not in my life. She's not getting anything if I die, so she's not trying to kill me.
Oh, great.
Um, but but if we're open to some ideas, then actually, and it's not swallowing the whole ball of wax, but some of the things that she has said has been it's been learning for me. So over the year, to open new ideas, one of the new ideas I've learned, I kind of knew, but not really. When you shared the video about the guy, the grounding video,
Oh,
where the
yes.
guy in Alaska
Yeah.
who
Interesting.
that story was so powerful to me, Michelle. If we should post it on our page, that
I'll
story.
find it again.
Yeah,
Absolutely. Yeah.
but see, we're trying to help you in dealing with positive stuff and different stuff, and I kind of lean toward, like, how do we get unstuck from my journey of serious depression and these things. We're trying to help you navigate and to be better today than you were yesterday, right? That's all
Exactly.
we're trying to do.
Exactly. That's right. And I think, if we really took an honest look at things that are accepted now, sort of like what I said about now you can see people in the Olympics with the big red circles from cupping. That is helping it being more widely accepted. But if you think back, I mean, it wasn't that long ago that yoga was woohoo. And now so many people do it, right? Or Tai Chi, or I don't know, there's some other ones that I don't know that people don't realize. Like, I've never done yoga, full disclosure. But apparently, so I'm told, you can actually work up a sweat from holding a pose. Can't wrap my head around it, but I have no reason to not believe it. I used to work with this guy, great guy, Steve. He passed away of cancer a few years ago, but such a nice guy. And so I used to work in like the front desk of this place, and he was a worker, and we just like hang out, and I'd fix his payroll or whatever, and we'd have these good talks. Not anything illegal. I would just fix it properly. But he said to me one day that his wife, I'm gonna say talked him in. Tell me in my head, Steve, if I'm incorrect. But I think it was his wife talked him into doing yoga. He definitely was not interested. So whether it was to stop the conversation or whatever it was, he thought, okay, I'm gonna try it. And it was a couple months later that he said he it was like there was health benefits for him, but the connection with his wife,
Yeah.
it shifted their relationship. And
Yeah.
I think it's probably not even that they were doing yoga, it was completing something together, relying on each other. I don't know, are they leaning on each other? Did she hold his feet? I have no idea, but he said it took their potentially, not fabulous relationship to the next level. And yeah, it was just such a thing. But he had that attitude of, well, that's just stupid and you're not really accomplishing anything. And he was actually a meditator. Um, and so he didn't realize apparently it's very similar in the focus and the chakras. That's another one that people really are not knowledgeable about. If you don't know, it's the energy centers of your body, and we're all exhuming energy. And I can't stress enough, it's proven by science.
Yeah.
So, but same thing. I think part of it is it's hard for people, and this is the same with the yoga, I guess. Hard for people to wrap their head around something that maybe they can't see. We would both go through that with our medical conditions. People don't understand. Like, I've spent the last 2 days basically locked in my house because it's
Yeah.
so humid, I can't go out. I
Yeah.
just can't physically do it. So I think it's sort of the same thing. So instead of saying, well, my goodness, that sounds interesting, let's look it up or ask somebody about it or whatever, then it's easier just to say, well, that's a bunch of bunk and not interested, right?
Well, let me give you an idea and my opinion, right?
Yep.
So Tai Chi. So
Yep.
Tai Chi, I had a few years ago.
Oh, okay.
Elderly person um, was at a coffee shop of one of my customers, and I've seen this elderly person there all the time. It's two older gentlemen, and they overheard the next table talking about Tai Chi. And so, and I see these guys every time I go to this customer, and they said Tai Chi. So they heard it. So I'm like, hey, how's it going, Harry, Mike, whatever their name was, right? And they go, oh, Tai Chi, is that green stuff from China? They thought it was green tea.
Oh,
Funny, right?
funny. Yeah.
So here's what I'm going to throw out. This is just my interpretation, right? My interpretation. Here's what I believe, and I got to plug in my phone. I'm trying to follow us, but my phone's getting dying. Here's what I believe, in just my experience in life, my experience in like my journey on in things of you know faith and energy and science and things I love, things I don't love, right? I think there is on one end we believe what we're told. So if you were raised in a very conservative family, you
Yep.
would believe all these other things are taboo and bad.
Or
I
money
was
grab.
yeah, I was watching this thing quite a while ago about the history in the States, but in Salem and why I've got
Oh,
books
good
on the
example.
Inquisition and these types of things, right?
Yep.
And it was so sad on just how in our history people with power what they would do, right?
Sure.
If you look at things like the Templar Knights and that they were part of protecting treasure, and all of a sudden Spain turned on them because they thought whatever, so they killed them all, right? In Renaissance, they had all this beautiful art that was done, like Michelangelo, that they're done for the church and whatever, and they were like, they're just beauty art. Well, all of a sudden, art was evil. So the art that we have now, like 90% of it was destroyed because it, in their mind, it took the way, it was so beautiful, it took away the way you would look to God or something like that. I can't remember how it was said,
Oh
right?
dear. Okay.
So there's a thing of what we don't know we fear, but it goes on both sides, right? And so I think with me, we've had this conversation before, meditation. I think when people hear words like chakra or meditation or this and that, they, if they don't understand, they all of a sudden, depending, even with age, they close up. They don't know the word new age you were talking about, right? Because I've been on a journey, and I don't assume somebody knows anything. I go like, okay, when you say that, what do you mean? Because I don't know, right? They
Yeah,
may
exactly.
mean 10. And so all of a sudden, like, I'll use church going people. Like, I live in a Bible Belt, right? So you get people of raised generation, they go, well, meditation or whatever. I'm talking to older people, right? And I'll go, it's in the Bible. And I'll go show them. So it's not bad. Meditation is just like stop, think, ponder on these words. Like, there's nothing new, right?
Right.
I shared, at San Michelle, I shared this beautiful, I'm going to share it on this page. This, I found this reel of this guy playing piano, like in airports and all that. And people will go up and ask him about these songs. Do you know
Okay.
this song? And then it'd be this impromptu to whatever. But this
Got
girl
it.
singing this French song called Maison, which is house. And me and you talk about the power of music, Michelle. Oh
Yeah.
my word, the music moved me, right? So I talked a bit about it, right? But so the science, talking about, you're talking about vibrations and energy, the science of how music works. So I was talking to somebody about energy years ago, and about it again, another church people, right? Because I, that's kind of been a part of the area I live in, right? And I don't, like, I'm involved in church now, but the people I fight with the most are probably religious people, just owning it, right? But now I'm getting a little bit more gentle, right? So this person go, well, I don't understand, like, and I go, okay, there's a story in the first part of the Bible where this king is having these mental issues, and this guy's playing the lyre, because my son has two lyres, like a guitar, like a harp,
Yep.
and and the music soothes him.
Oh, for
I've seen
sure.
music.
Yes.
I've seen places of dementia where
Yep.
we've gone in and we've done some music, not even singing, just music. And
Yep.
then you see these people like disengage, and all of a sudden, so this thing about, so that's an energy that happens. But like vibrations, you've talked about, the doctors are learning more and more.
Oh,
The
yeah.
some of the Western world is now opening up. That's where some of these wellness treatments, they're opening more to some of the Eastern ideologies of our physical wellness,
That's right.
before, where they were so like, this is like witchcraft, right? So again, we're talking about opening new ideas. If you're, I'm gonna put myself in a bit of a basket here. If you are looking at, um like, if you're wrestling with just feeling sluggish, or like mental fatigue, physical fatigue, look for some new ideas. I know a lot of people. I haven't done it because it's a little expensive, and I don't want to spend the money now. I know a bunch of people, different backgrounds, and that have gone to naturopaths, and then
Oh,
then a
sure.
different naturopath, they're getting tested for this and done this, and the naturopath will talk about Reiki, all this other stuff, right?
Yeah, that's right.
And so all of us, and these are people that Michelle Nash normally wouldn't do it. 10 years ago, wouldn't touch that, right?
Yeah. But
So it's interesting.
are they at the end of their rope? Because I think, oh, thank you.
Welcome for the popcorn.
I just got popcorn from Xavier.
Where's my popcorn? Where's mine?
Some
I have
to-
no bag in my hand.
Can you mail it to me, please?
Sure, why
Two
not?
dash
I'll
four
make it now.
six zero.
Thank you.
Next time.
Thanks, buddy.
Thanks, buddy.
Okay.
No,
So
but some of them, remember we talk about, sorry, I'll say a lot of this. Some of
that's
them
okay.
are a bit older, but remember we talked before about people nowadays, and it doesn't mean they're younger, nowadays can have 3 or 4 different job, like what was, sorry, can't remember the word. Um, Different what's the word? Job, like careers.
Oh, career,
They
yes, careers, yes.
got 3 or 4 different careers, right? So the
Yep.
same thing happens. There's this thing I was reading a little while ago, a psychology thing, and it says there's this thing away because our world is so fast now, where all of a sudden, like you're getting younger people, the way people in their 20s are thinking now, they turn 30s, and then there's a shift, and like there was a big movement, church again, 20 years old that have left the church, and they're doing this thing, and this whole sexuality thing. There was all this thing happening now. It's shifted. Politics, not getting heavy in politics. Like in the States, what the Republican Party looks like now is what the Democrat Party looked like 40 years ago.
I know, right? How
So
boggling.
so we're seeing this fluidness. So some of the people that are going to naturopath that I know, mostly women, but a couple of guys, with them
Yep.
are 40s and 50s, because they know they need something.
Well, and I think, and this is from, because I have some friends that that's what they do. And the common consensus is it's people who are so fed up with our established system, they're not getting the results, or the side effects are too much. And then that's why they're sort of forced in that direction. And they might go kicking and screaming, but if you're in pain, or if you can't have a baby, and you know what I mean? So like IVF is very expensive, or maybe that's not an option. They're going for these other things and finding a lot of success in it, but they have to go through that moral thing first of, this is what I heard, and this is, they're witch doctors or whatever. And it's so interesting because a lot of that stuff that they're doing is stuff that was run out by the medical community when the doctors came in, like in Little House on the Prairie days. And you went to Dr. whoever, that I should know his name, but I don't. When you went to him, he had all the herbs, exactly like you're saying. Like, it's so interesting that we're a first world country, us in the States, and we have the worst obesity. The States is worse. We're behind them. But you look at, and I'm not saying England isn't a first world country, but they're much different with their healthcare. So it's also tax funded. They can call it government funded, but let's be honest, it's tax funded healthcare. But do you know a GP? So over there, they call them a general practitioner.
Yep.
They can prescribe you Weight Watchers membership for free. It, like OHIP or whatever it's called there, covers it. They also get paid the opposite as us. So our doctors are making a fortune from us, full stop, right? Whether it's every time, like my infusion every Friday is $1,000, gets billed to OHIP, and then everything else that I'm on. So they make a lot of money from unhealthy people, which is exactly why cancer is never going to get cured in a first world country, because look how many people would lose their jobs, how many centers would close, canvassers, scientists, the whole thing. But in England, the doctors get paid for how many healthy patients they have, for the patients that are on their charts that aren't coming in all the time. But I think, so you look at all those things, and it just, if you're honest and true and do it analytically without getting upset, it really speaks volumes about the situation that we're in. And, at the same time, people, and we talked about the blue zones, people all over this planet are living to be, I think the oldest one I've heard of is like 128. Now, full disclaimer, not interested in sticking around that long, unless all my children and grandchildren do, right? But it just goes to show you, different environment, different food, different air. Like here where I live, it's the most polluted city in Canada. So, that's environment, which doesn't complement my genetic scenario. Like it's just so interesting, the scenario that we're in, and that, there's a lot of options out there. But if everybody ran and tried Reiki, and I mean, I'm going to make a tinfoil hat so the government can't hear me. But if we embrace that stuff, imagine what a better world we might live in. And you know what? If it doesn't work, nothing to lose. Nothing to lose.
So here's a few things. When I lived in England for a year,
Yeah.
we have so we had to, because we worked there, we had to I think Teresa had a grandfather clause because she had like paperwork from our grandfather, like paperwork to say we can go there, right?
Right.
So the most you paid for anything medically was £400.
Okay.
And so prescription wise, you would go for this. Any prescription costs you no more than £10 for every, like, it could be Ozempic, it could be most expensive to the cheapest. It's the same, right? It was
If you're a senior, it's free.
Yeah, dentist work. So years before I left, I had to get a partial dental thing, and my work paid half for it, right? So I paid out of pocket over $3,000
Right.
there, and I hated it because it was weird in my mouth. So there, I don't know why I did it again because I hated the first one. So I went to a dentist, and they made me the same thing, and it cost me £250, which is about
Wow.
$400, right?
Yeah.
So the thing is, so again, the mindset of that country. But here's the thing. I wrote down number one. So here's the number one thing, and you know this, is majority of naturopaths is, for most people, is out of pocket.
Yeah, that's right.
And you can't afford it. It's not cheap.
No.
And the naturopaths aren't trying to charge crazy amounts of money, but
Right.
it's still not cheap. Right.
Right.
So the thing I looked up, in case somebody's interested in it, the whole idea of a naturopathic medicine is to try to use natural therapy to help the body heal itself. That's the whole idea, right?
Right.
And there's many different naturopaths. I know an Asian fellow here that will kind of go into more of the East Asia type thing. So there's many different ways, right? But the whole idea is trying to find some natural ways, right? So first of all, it flows against our society, so it's not looked on. I was going to try to pull up, but I didn't want to ruin our connection. I want to pull up on my work, which is probably unfair, but I want to pull up on my health benefits. I'm not saying who it's with, what coverage I have, but I think I have acupuncture, which is great.
I do too. Yeah.
I don't know what I have going into that natural area, what coverage I have, right? But I did it before years ago. And my issue back then, I probably wasn't in the right mindset, was I paid to go, did my initial visit. I did, was it blood work you did at the beginning? There was something you had to do at the beginning. They had to test you for something. I remember they're picking my finger. Anyways, whatever, right?
Yeah.
And then they prescribed some vitamins for a few months, right? But I didn't have any, whatever. Sometimes you may not have a result based on, could be some internal stuff, because
Sure.
everything they provided, right? So anyways, so I stopped. So that's on me, right? But see, what I'm trying to do now, so this is my only little push with, I like health food stores, just say that, but they're a better choice than getting pills manufactured at some pill dispensary.
Right. That's right.
But when I see pills, sorry, block it.
Yep.
When I see these things that are good, but too old, but I want to find as much natural vitamin B,
Yes.
vitamin D, vitamin C.
That's right.
Because the truth is our body breaks it down better. This one here is a vitamin B12
Yep.
and it's 5 times. So this one dissolves on their tongue. So it's just, this is for the kid, for the grandkids, right? Because
Right.
share, right? But these things still are way better than all of the other crap.
Oh, 100%. That something is better than nothing, right?
Yeah. So it's, but here's the thing. So no, go back to what we're saying about open new ideas. Here's the challenge again. What are we being told, or not us, but what are our kids being told in school? What are we in Canada? Um, I don't know. Like we both believe there's crazy stuff going in the world and in the States and which affects Canada, right? But where do we find our core values in our education system, right? And we said this before, and it's not about back in our day when me and Michelle were like little. I'm older, so I'm littler than her, whatever. But what was in the system, good or bad, but we sang "O Canada." I don't know if I still remember the words, and we said the Lord's Prayer. And to me, Michelle, wasn't about the Lord's Prayer, "O Canada." It was about this discipline, and it was about as a class doing it together. You know what I mean?
That's
There
right.
was something about that, right? So I feel, and even with the way kids are raised, there's just a disengagement, like we're missing something, right? And I think like it's one of the things that I just like hope for. I don't, well, I hope for it, Michelle, but I don't have a lot of hope, right?
Don't
But I
they
wonder,
still sing
how do
"Oh
we,
Canada"?
what's that?
They don't. They still sing "Oh Canada" though, right? They do here.
You may be lucky. Maybe they do because you got all the smog or something. I don't know.
Well, in Ontario, they do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but the thing is, and not promoting a guy, but you need people in power that become passionate about certain things. And we have people in power that I believe in Canada, unless I'm just not aware of stuff, we don't have enough people in power that are passionate about the right things. In the States, and I'll take whatever bad press, whatever. I love what Kennedy is doing in
Me
the film
too.
because he's going against he's been given the green light, right?
Yep.
He's
I'm
going up
excited.
against some big boys, big power, big
Absolutely.
money.
Yep.
And you know what? His heart, and he's got people behind him, right? His heart is saying, we want our next generation healthy. We need for them to be healthy, right?
And a lot of people are going to struggle with those truths. I'm going to tell you something. So I don't know if I can, well, I'm going to tell you anyways. So years ago, WW was doing a program for kids, and it was a free program, and you could bring your child to a meeting. And because child obesity is a real problem in North America, huge problem.
Yeah.
And so, excuse me, I'm sorry, it's the humidity. So we were offering a thing, this was before COVID, where you could sign up your child for free, and we had a version of the app strictly for kids, and it was red light, green light, yellow light. With WW, also known as Weight Watchers, there's nothing you can't eat. So it was just grading. Like for the adult plan, everything's on a point system, might be 0, might be 100, whatever. But with the children, it was strictly the lights. Oh my gosh, it never got off the ground because parents felt insulted, and they fought back. They really pushed back, and we end up ditching the whole thing. It was free. It was, you didn't even had to have a parent that was a member. And so when you talk about Kennedy and that, I just think it's, so I feel like we're a spectator of everything over there. I pay attention to a lot of stuff, but I don't get emotionally attached. But I feel like the fallout from what he's about to find, like even statements he's already made about autism, that call like there, it's not natural. It was not there when, to this extreme, because it's
Yeah.
like 1 in 13 now It used
Yeah.
to be one in so many thousand. So I'm really, we're talking about this as far as under this context, but I feel moving forward, there's a lot of people that are going to have some big pills to swallow
Yeah.
moving forward. And I think a lot of it is well. So my parents were a little different. They were immigrants, and I was never taught to blindly trust, which might tie in with some of my decisions in the last 5 years. But I was never taught to blindly trust a physician. I was taught that a general practitioner, which is what we called them in our house, that they were jack of all trades but master of none. I was taught I had a doctor, and my parents loved this guy. He looked after all of us. It was a great way for him to doctor because he knew the history and the whole 9 yards. But there was a time when I was 9 or 10 or 11, and he thought I had a cyst, and he felt it through my tummy or something, and he wanted to open me up and take it out. And my dad said, BS to that, we're getting a second opinion. And back in those days, nobody got offended. This is the problem. Like, I think if I said to any of my current doctors, oh, I don't know, I'm getting a second opinion, I think it would reflect on my future service. Right? Because we're in a different culture. But I never got the surgery. By the time I went and saw the other doctor and he felt around, I have no idea. I was a child, but I never got the surgery. And I remember Dr. Villani was his name. He committed suicide years later. Interesting thing. But I remember he was so grateful that we got the second opinion. So I think, like, did you not learn that when you were growing up? Always, if there's a knife involved, always get a second opinion?
No, because I had so many surgeries when I was a kid, so it doesn't matter, right? Like I had
So, see,
at
that
the age of
blind trust is a problem.
yeah. Well, but for me, the surgeries I had, like at 3, I went through a car windshield, and I had
Different. That's
100
different.
stitches in my face and stuff.
Yeah.
And then I had I had an appendix burst. So and I
Okay.
go on septic. So obviously, so these are obvious
They
things,
wouldn't
right?
apply. They
But
wouldn't.
you're right. We were taught you don't question your teacher, you don't question anybody in authority, even
Right.
your parents, right? And that's
Right.
why go into um, abuse and go into molestation. That's why most of it didn't come out. Like people that were molested in the 40s and 50s and 60s and probably the 70s,
Yeah.
you didn't find that stuff out until the last 20 years.
That's
And some
right.
of it you because you did not talk about Uncle Joe or blah 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 or grandpa or whatever, right? Because they were in authority. You didn't talk about it,
And
right? You put
sometimes
up
the
with
other adults help keep the secret.
Yeah, and that was the thing. This family. Let me read
Yep.
some stats. So because I think what you said is important, and I know we're going over a little bit, but still important, right?
Yep.
So here's a stat in Canada. So this is something, and it's in both of our wheelhouse. And I'm laughing, Michelle, because you know what I'm thinking as we're talking this. It reminds me of you. What was your other friend that had the radio show?
Sandy.
It reminds me of you and Sandy about we're talking about current news or whatever. But that's what we do anyways, right?
Yeah.
So 1 in 4 children and youth in Canada are overweight or obese,
Yeah.
and this is between 5 and 17, right?
Wow.
And even though they feel like it's potentially plateaued, in 2015, 12% of Canadian children and youth aged 5 to 17 were classified as obese, another 9% were overweight. So in 2015, 12%. This means closely 1/3 children and youth, right? So obesity, you're going to know this. Where's the one here? Because this will make sense. Obesity is majority in the Anglo-Saxon, the whites,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
And so that's a whole different conversation. But one of the things they talk about in this article, they exactly because you talked about like and shutting it down. Jamie Oliver, because I love chefs.
Oh, love them.
Jamie Oliver did this thing, and it was a show on Netflix where he went to the schools in England. He came to Canada, by the way, and he went to the States. States at work for a bit, but he went to the schools. He says, "You got to do a better food program. You got to do this." And in
Right.
England, this part of the school budget, every kid got a meal. Not like here where you got to pay for it at a cafeteria, right?
That's right. That's
So
right.
so they made sure everybody got a good meal, right? So so back to your thing about the family fighting it, and then it comes down to budget, and it's more important to have a budget for stupid stuff. And
Chips and pop and right.
yeah, well, and
Okay.
so all of a sudden it's like, well, whatever. See, use now, right? Like, so I'm going to use my daughter watches this fine, right? So my youngest granddaughter, um, my two granddaughters and my daughter have been through a very difficult time. So my daughter and the eldest granddaughter are going to get counseling and probably therapists. Well, the youngest one, who's 7, acts out, and she's beautiful, she's funny and all that, but just these bursts of stuff. So I know from my experience that the way she acts is, some people give her to have her go to a therapist. It's at that age, is, maybe they can do it. It's really not what you need. But in the classroom, like when Ethan was in school, because they felt like he was peculiar. He was like Napoleon Dynamite, right? But in classes with budgets now, they're cutting back these, what are they called? Like, it's helper teachers, but they have students that just need a little bit more.
Yeah, like an EI or something. Yeah.
And so all of a sudden, that's not important. That's not important. But all of these, and I'm not going into some big, gender fight, but all of a sudden, these fights for this and fights for that and fights for this, not just sexuality, everything is crazy, right? So that's what I was saying earlier. Like, where do we go? Like, with governments in Canada, who's fighting for what in our cities and in our provinces, and what's more important now?
Us.
What's that?
Us.
Yeah.
It has
But
to be us.
so here's a question for you, and I'm going to do my homework after this. I've made a note.
Okay.
So in Ottawa, in Ontario, you might know better than me. I don't go crazy on politics, but now I want to, because now I'm kind of triggered in a good way.
Okay.
I'm triggered in Parliament. Who represents us in Parliament for school, like for our programs for education? I know who represents certain parties, like not parties, but certain parts of Parliament.
Sure.
But all of a sudden, I go like, who is the head and taking care of
I
our
don't
policy?
know either. I don't know.
But
I
see,
have no idea.
but if it's somebody who doesn't care, and if it's just about the politics, right? You remember, I don't remember the girl's name, right? Remember a while ago, there was Trudeau brought on this woman, and he put her in his
Oh, your internet.
token thing. See me now?
Now
Am I
you're
here?
You're better. You're good now.
I think the government is checking in on us.
I told you we need hats.
But there was a woman that he brought in. So this is all about
I know
politics.
who
I
you're
can't remember her
talking about.
name, but where she quit,
Right.
right?
Right.
And like these token things, like we want people that are gonna, like, all politics are gonna fight for us, gonna fight for our kids.
That's right.
Fight if you pollution in your area, that's BS. It's
Oh,
yes. So you
terrible.
know who's holding the power there? Now some of it can be coming over the river from the States, right? Maybe.
But it's the chemical valley. That's what it is. It's the
So-
chemical plants. That's exactly who it is. We had 3 benzene spills in the last 2 weeks. We might have where Nicole lives right now. She keeps being evacuated, and because she lives on the reserve, and they put her in hotels. Her and like everybody.
So how do they get away with that? how do they get away with that?
They can afford to pay the fine. They, then they turn it on them. And I don't even live there. And whenever there's, like, we're on this side of the valley, and then Nicole's on the other side, and literally they rent property, they rent the land from the reserve, and they pay them what I like to call hush money, so that they are all getting money, once or twice a year.
So they're paying the band.
Yeah, and then the band trickles it down, right? So, and yeah, so that's so that they get money here, that like Kettle Point or Walpole Island or the other ones in this area, because there's quite a, well, we're all along the water. So
But
there's
how do
quite a
they
few.
how do they get away with? So a thousand years ago,
Yeah,
but 1,000 years ago in Sudbury, the nickel mine, right?
yeah,
So Andy Charlevoix, I don't know if you know that name. He's Aunt Mona's husband.
oh yeah.
So he was involved with inventing something for the smokestack that
Yeah.
eliminated like 90% of the smoke. And then
Yeah.
and then he went, like, he was semi-retired and he went to China or a different place, ran like a long time ago, right? So I gotta find out. I gotta ask Sean what he did. But anyways, what's that?
So I've been here 55 years. We're much better than we were. And it's funny because Alice said something to me about it the other day. But that's right. So there's scrubbers. Even when I worked at Fibrex, the insulation plant, there's scrubbers they can put in the stacks. And this is probably who, the doofus in charge of Canada, just my opinion, thinks that he's going to do some climate fixing or something there. But it's so much better. So like when I was a kid, if we went on vacation somewhere, as soon as we hit the city limits, we smelled rotten eggs, and you just got used to it by the time you got home. Now today, 2025, half of the Chemical Valley, like Dow's closed, Bear's closed, and it's probably part of it is that we pushed back, so they left and now they pollute somewhere else. But now you don't smell that until you're driving directly through the valley. I'll do a little video sometime of what that experience is like. But like I've trained myself, especially since my diagnosis, as soon as I get, like if I'm going to Nicole's, as soon as I get close, because you go over like a little overpass and then you drive probably 5 kilometers and it's all stacks of pollution. And I turn my heat off, or I turn my air off, and I just like hunker down and cruise through, because it's affecting me. Like it's crazy what we tolerate, but
So let's do this.
It's wild. It's wild.
So let's do this. You just made me put a whole bunch of writing on this. Can't see it.
Oh, look at you.
Let's do this. Get Nicole, because I was told I'm not allowed to use the word trigger because trigger is negative. Inspired is the right word to use. You inspired,
oh,
right?
Is it? Okay.
Get Nicole
Yep.
to do the video. Ask Nicole if she'll do a video, if she can.
I'm just driving through?
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. One of us will.
So,
yeah.
So here's what I think. So now I've got a project. You gave me a project, right? And we might not talk about next week, depends what I do and we find out. I'm like, stuff like this drives me nuts, because the even with businesses like that, pollutants to waterways and regulations and all that, there's like, the regulations are so tight, you can't get away with that. Like, and I don't know how even if you buy off a band or not, the government regulations are, unless the government's looking the other way, but you can't be like, we've had lumber, like they're not now, but we've had like sources along the Fraser and different inlets
Yep.
that are gone because they had no way, like 20 years ago, of dealing with pollutants, because they would need certain chemicals to bleach the wood or whatever it was, right?
Right.
So they're gone, right?
Right.
So it's interesting. So I just made notes about that. I'm going to look up Chemical Valley, Sarnia,
I got a couple of
water.
videos on standby for you.
Yeah.
I'm
So,
quick like
so,
that.
so it would be it for me. So whatever, like we might not talk about next week, talking about again. So I'm just curious now. I'm going, okay, because we're talking about health, mental wellness, but
Yeah.
health, right? So
Yeah.
now I'm going, okay, I'm intrigued, and I don't care if I name names and get shut down, and the FBI are at my door. No, FBI is American, but
Or
I'm
CMP.
I'm curious now because if it's happening there, it's happening all over in different places. Like I'm shocked it would be that bad, and I trust you because I know you and
Yeah.
I know, but from everything I know from a while ago, Teresa's really big on climate stuff, right? Like not like
Right.
nerd into, and I know enough. So I'm now like I thought they were really like, especially in Ontario, I would assume stingy on that stuff.
Yeah, not so much. Not so much.
Somebody's looking the other way.
Well, you know what's interesting? So there's this one plant, and it's called like, oh, they change their name every 5 minutes. I don't know what it was originally off top of my head,
What's
but
it
then
called
it
now?
changed to Lanxess, and then now it's Orlexio, probably because nobody can spell it. But look, it's Lanxess, Lanxess is the last name previous to this one. So
Okay,
they're
I'll look it up.
they're the ones that are constantly having these benzene spills. Well, they pay about $45 an hour to work there. They're all union. We're a big union town. I am not a big fan of unions personally. From experience, the plant I worked in was a union plant. And anyways, another story for another day. But so they have these spills, and then people get sick or they can't breathe. They've got their monitors, but the other monitors that are run by the people, they will be triggered that it's a spill. So what happens is the groups that are all for the reserve, they'll put up a thing, benzene spill, community centers closed, daycares closed, all these places are closed. And then sometimes they're relocating them. And then a bunch of people get all mad because how dare you? So according to the latest news, Lanxess is shutting down that process. I guess it's a process. And so they're shutting it down. They're refining oil, right? So they're shutting it down and moving it to the States. So now you've got people that are sick who are like, no, I need to breathe. They have a creek that goes through their reserve that has two-headed fish. Like, I get concerned about eating off the land there, right? Because the stuff's being polluted. They have
Yeah.
spills in the river, which is the Great Lakes. So then people pipe up. And I mean, I get both sides, but you can't sacrifice human life. So then people pipe up and they're like, well, you're just taking our jobs away. You don't want people to make a good living.
Yeah.
What are we supposed to do? Da 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 da. I
100%.
get that part too, but again, it's hush money. We also have Clean Harbors here, which is out in the country, but it's half a mile, half an hour away, maybe not even, but they're at least in the country, and they pay all the house. So Clean Harbor, when
Yeah.
9/11 happened, they took a lot of the waste that the states couldn't deal with. It all came in trucks to us. And you know what else used to come to us? And I have a friend that worked in the AP department there that told me this: Kraft dinner cheese, leftover Kraft dinner cheese powder used to come to that same place. That'll make you think about it. Anyways, the old cheese, not the current cheese. But there's a radius, and it's like a 1 mile radius. Every person that lives in that radius, they get a new furnace, they get new windows, they get
Yeah.
all sorts of stuff on the regular so that they won't sue them. Same as when I worked at Fibrex, we would get a spill on all of our vehicles. And you'd look and it's a very fine film with these really hard black dots on them. And you couldn't get the dots off. And so we had one car lot or car wash in town and I would hand them out. And of course, we didn't call everybody and say, hey, there's a spill. You'd wait till somebody noticed, come up, and I give them a free car wash, the most expensive kind of car wash you can get, and then repeat. And there was one time I was at Marilyn Gladue is our representative for Lambton County, which is where we are. And I was having issues with, I think, child support or something. So I went to see her, which was not her, but whoever her people were. And I was behind this guy, and he lived in that area, in like the Chemical Valley area. He was so mad. He got up and his paint was all damaged from a spill. Even the word spill seems so weird in this scenario, but his paint was all damaged. But more importantly, you know what a truck liner is? It's that hard plastic. That was all bubbled up. And they were going, we didn't do it. That's exactly what they do. We didn't do it. They do it. When we would have Imperial Oil is big here. And when I worked at Fibrex, their dumping site was across the road and the deer run through there. It's just amazing because I know a lot of people that hunt the deer, which is scary because I think they glow in the dark. But anyways, all of a sudden I noticed the engineer was coming up and he was taking pictures of them dumping. And we're quite a ways away from the whole city at this point, but in the valley. So he's taking pictures and I'm like, what are you taking pictures of? He says, because they weren't allowed to dump under certain wind conditions. So if they had created a spill, they would blame us. So we were taking evidence pictures, and oh my gosh, Tom, where the fallout was a residential area, had to be 10 miles away. It was like totally crazy. Even I was like, what? It's dumping on the Harley dealership, which was like on the edge of town, but that's how far it went. And then they go, well, it came from that direction, must be Fibrex, because we also had a stack. Like, it's an interesting game, that whole Dodge accountability game. I don't know how people can look in the mirror. Where'd you go? Just
well, I did this. So in this, so I gotta look stuff up. So this here is 2025. This is pollution for Ontario environmental, right?
Okay.
So if you can you see that a little bit?
I see some red areas.
Is that better?
No.
Let me do this. Let me turn this light off. Maybe this will be better. I'll send you. So,
a map?
so the
Is
one
that
by
what
my
it is?
mouth there, it's a map, and that's Sarnia.
Oh, is it? Okay.
The bigger one, the bigger one with all the orange, that's Toronto. That's the biggest pollution.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And it's a different kind of pollution in Toronto, right?
Yeah. So the challenge is, and I gotta go soon too. But the challenge is back to what we were saying, right? If you don't care for yourself, if we don't care for our kids, and if we don't, like, if we just, like you said, those parents that anywhere will just turn the other cheek. It doesn't affect them now, but it's going to affect their kids and their kids down the road, right? So we don't have to go like postal,
right?
But
One thing at a time.
We do have to think. We have to think about it. I'm going to leave on this thing, ponder this thing, and maybe you may talk about another time.
Okay.
So the whole electric car, gas car thing, right? Me and you've never talked to this, not sure your thoughts, right?
Right.
So
True.
I had a Ford Fusion, so I had a hybrid a couple years back, right? And I traded into a Volkswagen because I like Volkswagen, right? My hybrid didn't go fast enough, and I had no trunk space because the batteries were so big, right?
Right.
So I'm talking to a young guy I knew, 30 years old. He was a truck driver. And so we're talking about, the gas, blah, 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 and this and that, just conversation, right?
Yep.
He goes, you know what the batteries are made of?
know.
He's asking me. He goes, you know, when the batteries die, that they bury them and that they last forever,
Oh my gosh,
right?
that's hilarious.
Uranium.
Yep. Wow. Right? It's like
So I'm leaving that.
crazy. It's crazy.
No answers. We'll talk about it later.
Talk about it later.
Perception, perspective.
That's right. And you don't know what you know until you know, and then you know.
Yeah.
Exactly. All
Okay.
right,
So
everyone.
you
You
say
go.
goodbye.
Bye. Bye. We'll see you next week, everyone. Have an awesome week. Don't forget how amazing and fabulous and spectacular you are. And don't forget that you're a walking miracle. This is your one and only. You need to look after it. So if you find you need to look at other things or something's not working, or even talk to other people. What's working for you? How are you making that work? Look up reviews. Be your own research and development department.
Reach out to us.
Yeah, reach out to us and like and subscribe. We're going to be back next week. I don't know what we're going to talk about, but it's going to be very interesting. And if I remember, I'm going to make that hat because I don't need any knocks at the door either. All right. Take care, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
We did it.
We so did it. So
Lithium batteries.